Today, we're going to break down a song, but, not for its melody or its beat. We're going to look at it through a totally different lens, as a potential piece of propaganda. The song is called El Cuadro del Terror, and the playbook it seems to follow is, well, it's pretty fascinating. So let's get right into it. Right out of the gate, the stakes are made incredibly clear. A failure with the squad and you die. Yeah, not a lot of room for interpretation there, right? That one line just sets up this entire world of absolute loyalty and, well, lethal consequences. It really sets the stage for everything else that's about to follow. So who's behind all this? The artist goes by El Makabelico, and the song, again, is El Cuadro del Terror, which translates to the Terror Squad. And that brings us to our first section here, the artist and the accusation. This is where the music itself runs head-on into a really serious criminal indictment. So this right here is the central conflict we're digging into. On one hand, you've got the music. It's full of bravado, big claims about power, and descriptions of this super lavish lifestyle. But on the other hand, you have a very serious accusation from our source material that this is straight-up propaganda for the Cartel Del Noreste. That's the framework for our entire analysis today. Okay, so let's really dig into the lyrics themselves. The first, and maybe the most dominant theme you'll notice, is this assertion of just total, unwavering control. It's the absolute foundation of the song's message, as we're about to see in this next section on the lyrics of power and control. At the very heart of these lyrics is one single, powerful word, controlar, to control. And I mean, it is just hammered in, over and over again. The singer says, estoy acostumbrado a controlar, a controlar. I am used to controlling, to controlling. That's not just for the beat, that is a statement, a declaration of total dominance. And look, this isn't just some vague idea of control. The lyrics get really specific, detailing actions in actual places. You've got patrolling in Laredo, controlling the clubs, and then extending that reach all the way to Monterrey. It paints this picture of a disciplined, highly organized force with a clear chain of command, operating under the boss's order. But brute force is really only half of the message here. The other half? Well, that's all about seduction. The song spends just as much time painting this vivid portrait of wealth and luxury. And this is the aspirational appeal. It's a classic recruitment tool, really, designed to make a certain lifestyle look absolutely irresistible. And how do they signal this wealth? Well, in a very contemporary way. They just name-drop one luxury brand after another. The song practically becomes a laundry list of high fashion. Gucci, Prada, Ferragamo, Fendi, Louis Vuitton. And look, these aren't just casual mentions thrown in there. They are absolutely essential to the image that's being sold. It's a vision of success, designed to be something people aspire to. And if you thought they were being subtle about it, they're not. The song just spells out the promise directly. Here there is power, there is money and women. I mean, it's the whole package, laid out right there for you. A simple and, honestly, a really powerful trifecta for recruitment. Okay, let's switch gears a little and talk about the end of the song, the outro. Now, it might just sound like a bunch of shout-outs, but if we're looking at this as propaganda, it serves a much bigger, more strategic purpose. Which brings us to our next section, the squad's roll call, and how it's used to build a public network. You can almost break it down into a 3-step formula for how to build your crew right in the middle of a song. Step 1. You name the key players, right? You mention leaders like WM and René to establish a clear hierarchy. Step 2, you shout out the associates, listing off names to show just how deep the network goes. And finally, step 3, you claim your territory by naming a specific place like Barrio Colima. It's a process that transforms this abstract group into a very real, tangible organization with people, places, and a clear structure. All right, so let's pull all of these threads together now. We've looked at lyrics that establish control, lyrics that promote this incredibly wealthy lifestyle, and lyrics that publicly name members and territories. So what happens when you put it all on the table? This brings us to the big synthesis. Is this music being used as a weapon? This table really lays it all out nice and clean. Each lyrical element we've talked about can be mapped directly to an alleged strategic function. You've got the constant claims of control, which can be seen as intimidation and a show of authority. The luxury brands, that's all about recruitment and aspiration. Naming individuals, that builds loyalty in a very public network. And of course, the direct threats are there to enforce compliance. Every piece seems to have its place.
And all of this, everything we've looked at, it really brings us to one final huge question. We've broken down the lyrics, we've looked at the accusations from the source material, but the bigger question, the one I want to leave with you, is this. Where is the line? At what point does art, or artistic expression, cross over and become a deliberate tool of influence and propaganda?